I'm going to be honest with you. There is nothing I hate more than starting a new VR project and having to set it all up. And luckily for you, I have eliminated all that annoying stuff. I've updated my free VR template from a year ago. So you can see here we have the basics. We have a start, about, and options. If you hit about, you can do a description of your game. Options, we have a master, music volume, sound effects. We also have a snap turn. We have continuous turn. And so if we select that, you can see continuously turning. Nice. We have a vignette option, which it won't work with continuous turn because with strafing, it won't allow it. But the snap turn, it works just fine. And if we had forward movement, continuous movement, it would work there too. When we hit the start button, it fades into black. And then we move to our next scene. The next scene is just going to be the XR Interaction Toolkit demo scene, so we can throw things around, we can press buttons. If you want, the ladder is also there, and we can climb up the ladder. And finally, if we turn over here, there is a little thing that takes us to the XR Hands demo. In the XR Hands demo, we can move things around, we can click buttons, you can kind of just test everything out that you need to in the XR Hands. And if we have to go back to the main menu, we just click that button and, well, we head back to the title screen. So let's see how we use this. Now, in order to use this template, it's pretty simple and straightforward. All I wanted to do is provide something so you could hop in and start your new projects. I was originally going to release this for the VR Halloween Game Jam, but then my computer crashed and I had to reboot everything, and I have only finally barely gotten everything back to work after spending $140. I guess I got a trick for Halloween. So kicking things off here, we have a few managers here that I've set up. We have a sound manager, which uses audio mixers, and you can find the audio mixer here. It is a master audio mixer with a music and sound effects mixer attached to it. So essentially how this works is the master volume, when someone turns it down, will control these two. And so if this is all the way down to -80, you won't hear anything. And then sound effects and music are in separate tabs. And if you need a reminder of how to use these things and set them up, when you add an audio source to something, just make sure the output is to where you want it to go. So if it's music, you'll want it to be on the music audio mixer group. And then if it's sound effects, you just want it to be on the sound effects audio group. And so that way, when they set their options, it will set the audio mixers appropriately. Moving on to the XR settings manager. So there was a few settings like toggling things on and off, or continuous move and not continuous move. And so all this guy does is it sits here and it will set those things for us. It'll save those settings. So when the players come in and they transition from different scenes, it should be able to ping this and then get what those settings were. And just to show it's not magic and what is pinging it, well, that's the XR settings listener. So when this thing starts up in a scene, it wakes up and it will subscribe to the XR settings manager, and it will say, okay, I've just booted up. What are my settings? And it'll just set them from there. It'll just do a few gets, and that's it. Now, last but not least is the level manager. So this is what is doing our scene loading. It also is in charge of what allows for the fade duration. So it takes a bit of time now, but I could set it to 1 second if I wanted to, or 2, and I'll leave that up to you. I'm going to leave it at 1 for default when you download this. Now, looking into the level manager, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty, but I will show you how it works. So it is a singleton, so there's only going to be one instance of this, so it can be called from anywhere. And then when we want to load a scene, we do it by calling this function. It's public, so you just look for the instance of level manager, ask for this public function here, load scene async, and then pass it the scene name. And yeah, it'll go in and it will load that scene and transition. Now, a good example of this is here on the main menu. I made a script called main menu script. If we click that, all this does is it takes the start button that, well, starts us into the next scene. It listens to the on click event, and then it comes in here whenever it's clicked. It will set the menu to false, and then it will call the level manager instance, load scene async, and then whatever the start button scene name is. If I minimize that, you can see here that the start menu scene is going to be the XR Interaction Toolkit demo, which if we come over here, yeah, that's it right here. Now, one thing I'll mention is also make sure when you do this, you want to go to build settings and make sure that your scenes that you're trying to load are in the build. If they're not in this, if you don't drag it up here, well, then it's not going to recognize it and it can't load it. If you wanted to just make a simple UI button that your player could click or anything like that, another good example would be a script that I wrote just for you to use. We just put a button here, just as this quick example, and then I have one called level, let's see, what is it? Yes, load scene button. And so yeah, all the load scene button does, same thing. It just subscribes to the on click event, it grabs the button component. It will load whatever scene you pass in. So if we go back to the editor, you'll see here the scene name. It just asks what the scene name is, and I could say anything like title screen. And so yeah, there you have it. That is my quick little tour of this thing. You know, when you come in, you're doing a game jam, you'll also want to make sure that you change the title, obviously. Yeah, I mean, you could change it to like anything. Like, I don't know, sorry, my computer crashed and this is so late. Good luck on the game jam. And there we are. This is just a very, very simple VR template for you to get things going and quickly. And that way, when you do game jams, you can just knock things out on prototype. I hope you find it all useful. And thank you, patrons. As ever, you keep me afloat. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.